Okay, well, my backstory is that my life changed in 2020 when I defied lockdowns in Oregon. I stood up for my freedoms by simply saying I have a right to provide for my family. I believe that my job is essential, and received a massive dose of cancel culture for that. And then when Antifa threatened to burn down my salon, and I protected my salon, I, put the nail in the coffin. Like, cancel culture got me. Lost 6 businesses, had to leave our home in Oregon, and fled, if you will, fled to Arizona, ran for our lives. And when I got to Arizona, I had like an identity crisis. I had always been a very successful hairstylist, salon owner. My salon was huge, 5,000 square feet. Always been an entrepreneur. And when I came to Arizona, we had no jobs lined up. We had no future, no security, no financial stability, no retirement set away, like very, very unstable, like an unstable move. And yet we did it because we needed to leave Oregon. So I went through an identity crisis and tried to do hair again, tried to get my real estate license, tried to go through all these doors that I was like, well, I got to work, right? So, and God just kept closing them and closing them. And eventually, through 4 different people in a 12-hour period, he told me to write a book. And the book was Targeted. I'm trying to think, is it behind me? Yeah, it's right there. It started off like, Lord, why would I write a book about defying the government? That was like, 2 months of my entire life. Well, when I sat down to write it, because I was just obedient, and I was like, okay, I'll write it. I heard him sort of say, you're trying to explain to people in a book like how you became this person that was strong enough to endure fighting the government single-handedly, and also taking on cancel culture and like allowing your life to be ruined because of what was right. And so I started writing the stories of things I did in my 20s that I'm very, I wouldn't say ashamed, because God takes away all shame, but I'm not proud of. Embarrassing, and they're a huge part of my testimony, but I hadn't shared a lot of that testimony till I decided to put it in a book, which is crazy. I'm like, Lord, you don't really want me to write about that, do you? And he's like, it's how I made you strong. That's how I created you. I allowed these things to happen to form you into who you are today. So my book it's over 300 pages. It's ended up being my testimony. And through that book, it is not a bestseller yet, but it was God's way yet. It was God's way of showing me, getting me through my identity crisis. He's like, you aren't a boss babe. You're not a stylist. You're not a salon owner. That's not your identity. Your identity is in me. And he proved it by showing that half the country was writing me hate mail and calling me things that I was not. And a lesser person would look at those things and let that deteriorate them and like destroy them. And I would look at these hateful, vile messages and be like, you're calling me these things. And we'll use a good example, like a white nationalist. And I'm like, but I'm not a white nationalist. So it doesn't really affect me that you're calling me something that I'm not. And then it turned into all of like, when I got that mentality, it was like, if I let every single person, stranger on the internet, worldwide, dictate who I am, then I would never be anybody, because everybody would have a different opinion about who I am.